Hello, I'm Matt and I'd like to welcome you to the channel. If this is your first visit to our channel, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you will know when we upload a new video. Today's video, I am going to cover Chapter 4 in my book, Deciding for Life, How I Lost 70 Pounds Without Working Out and While Still Eating Foods That I Love. But before I get to that, I do want to express to you that I am not a medical professional and I give no medical advice. My goal with this channel and with the book that I wrote is to inspire you to live a healthier lifestyle by finding what works for you, not necessarily my deciding for life system that works for me, to live a happier and healthier lifestyle. Chapter 4, Focus on Previous Success. This time when I decided to lose weight, and for the final time that I'm going to lose weight, uh, I was working on digging four anchor holes for a metal building that me and my dad were putting up out here on our property. Now, my dad at the time was 86 years old. This was about a year ago. And as long as I can remember, he's been substantially overweight. He's 5'6" tall. And as long as I can remember, he's probably weighed more than 200 pounds, which puts him pretty substantially overweight. And he has some other medical issues. He's had blood clots in that in his lungs and that. So, his lungs don't work the greatest to begin with, but watching him walk around here and not being able to walk far and because I've lost a substantial amount of weight before, it does kind of get to me because I know how much better I feel when I'm not as heavy. And I know he could feel so much better if he could lose some weight. But, we in life can only affect ourselves. It's hard enough just to change ourselves. There's really no way to change anybody else. But digging these four holes, reminded me of a previous time that I dug that I needed some holes dug in my backyard, and I was so overweight and out of shape that I had to have my daughters dig the holes for me to fix a fence. So I know what it feels like not to be able to do things that you want to do. And I know how much better you feel after you lose a substantial amount of weight. And seeing my dad that way and knowing, if he was 60, 70, 80 pounds lighter, that he'd probably be able to walk around here without much issue versus the way he is today. Those things really inspired me to realize I really needed to lose weight again. And when I decided to lose weight, I've got some previous experience, so that's what I'm going to work off of. I'd previously lost 80 pounds, so I really know what it feels like. And some of the things that I know are better when I'm lighter, some of the improvements that I can see, because it's really evident after you've lost a substantial amount of weight, and it's something you don't experience until after you've lost a substantial amount of weight. Some of those things are, it's kind of funny. I grew up around my dad. He's always been a shooter, shooting firearms and reloading ammunition, and part of that requires you to pick up brass. And when I'm substantially overweight, in order for me to go pick brass up, a lot of times I'll end up kneeling down and picking up two full handfuls before I get back up because it's such a pain to get back up when I'm so overweight. But it's funny, the improvement that you see after you've lost a substantial amount of weight, 70 or 80 pounds. You can walk around and pick up the brass and it doesn't even, get you winded. It's just so amazingly different than, when you're substantially overweight. One of the big places that I've really noticed it, and it's really come to my mind each time, has been when I've been trimming trees. And it's partly because it's something that I don't do all the time, but because I have to do it almost every year on the last two properties I've owned, it's really, really evident. When I go out there with a pole saw and I start trimming a tree, and when I'm overweight, 10 or 15 minutes and I'm pretty much done and I got to go sit down for a while. But once, you lose 70 or 80 pounds, or once I lose 70 or 80 pounds, I can go out there and, and keep going a good part of the day. Now, a lot of times I go out there and work now and, I just come in, for breaks to get something to drink or something to eat. I never have to take a break just because I'm tired. My arms might get a little tired and I might slow down, but I don't have to take a break because I'm so out of breath that I can't do what I want to do. One of the strange things that is apparent to somebody that's lost a substantial amount of weight is how much your balance changes, or at least for me. when I'm substantially overweight, just to put my pants on, I got to lean up against a wall or, brace myself just to balance myself. But after losing 70 or 80 pounds, I can put my pants and my shorts on and I don't have to balance. I can just stay in there and do it. It's kind of funny, those little things that you don't, really notice till you think about it. But it feels so much better when you don't have to balance just to put your pants on. Another thing that's so much easier that you don't think about, especially if you've never been substantially overweight, but if you are substantially overweight and have difficulty putting your shoes on, and I've had I've been substantially overweight to the point where back when I was a police officer, there were times that I'd have to put my shoes on before I could put my gun belt on, because if I put my gun belt on, I couldn't bend over to put my shoes on. So I've been substantially overweight to that point. So I know there's a big difference. And it's funny, you lose the weight gradually, so you don't, you don't notice it immediately. But when you get 70 or 80 pounds lighter than you used to be, and you go to put your shoes on, it's kind of funny because you do it so effortlessly that you don't think about it until you sit down and think about it for a minute. And then you realize, dang, this feels so much better. This is so much easier. Another place that I didn't really think about until after I lost weight, I'm a man. My manly plumbing when I'm substantially overweight doesn't work quite like it does when I'm not. And it's just funny because, there's so many medications and that out there for people, with those types of issues. But at least for me, all it took to solve that type of issue for me was to lose weight. Every time I've lost 70 or 80 pounds, my manly plumbing works so much better. And it doesn't require any little blue pills for me. So this time when I decided to lose weight, I was going to use the experience that I had gained from the previous times I've lost weight. The very first time I got down to 185 pounds, I did what they call the Body for Life system. I think his name's Bill Phillips, is the author of that book. And it's a really good book. And if you really like working out and want to lose weight, it is a great book for doing that. And it's a great system for doing that. For me, I'm not the type of person that really loves working out, but I was able to use the program the first time to lose 30 or 40 pounds when I was a detective. And I went from probably 225, 230 down to 185. And that system, for what if you don't know what it is, Body for Life is a system that you work out and eat right 6 days a week, and you take one day off. And that's kind of where I got some of the ideas for my deciding for life that I use now that works for me. And if you really want to understand the Body for Life system, I really recommend you get the book and read about it, because it details its system a lot better than I can. The basic tenets are, like I said, you work out 6 days a week. 3 days is an aerobic workout, 3 days is a weight type workout. You eat right those 6 days, where you're eating every 2.5 to 3 hours, or every 2 to 3 hours apart. And, you eat small meals to sustain you throughout the day instead of large meals. And it works really good. And it works really, really good, if you really enjoy working out. With Body for Life, one of the things that's in the book that a lot of people use are protein shakes and protein drinks. And that's a system that I used when I got down to 185 the very first time. But part of my problem with the protein shakes and protein drinks is sometimes I'll eat or drink them and they will turn my intestines inside out. I mean, just make my stomach hurt like something else. So when I lost the 80 pounds, I wanted to look for an alternative that I might be able to eat, to fill in that space, but tide me over between my actual meals. And in Body for Life, he talked about one of the things that he would use was cottage cheese. Well, I don't particularly care for cottage cheese, so I started looking around to see what I could find that might work for me. And I came across the Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt. And the Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt is only 80 calories, and it's 12 grams of protein. But it's also sweet enough that a guy that, is a picky eater, it's sweet enough that I can eat it. So when I lost 80 pounds and probably about 40 of the 70 pounds I lost this time, I did that while using Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt for my snacks, because it's enough to tide you over between your meals, and it worked very well for me. And I did that until I read another book here about 6 or 7 months ago called The Glucose Revolution, and that's when I started making protein balls. And I'll talk about that later in a future chapter. With Body for Life, you only weigh yourself once a week, and you weigh yourself the day after your cheat day. And initially, when I lost weight this time, and when I lost 80 pounds, that's what I did back then. And initially, that's why I started this particular process of losing weight. I just weigh myself on my Monday because my cheat day is my Sunday. And that's one thing that I'm doing different now. And it works really well when you're just focused on intake and not focused on intake and working out. When you weigh yourself every day, which is what I've been doing, it allows me to see when I can make slight adjustments during the week or like on a Sunday so that I can hit my goal. Because for me, it's really, really important to hit my goals. If I'm not hitting my goals, it kind of throws me off a bit. But when I can look at it daily and compare, last Tuesday with, this Tuesday and where I'm at, and if I'm down, what I would expect to be down for the week when I'm trying to lose weight, it's very, very helpful to me. Now with Body for Life and for most other, suggested workouts or diet plans or whatever that are out there, they suggest you only weigh yourself once a week, and some of them don't even want you to weigh yourself from some of what I've been reading more recently. But for me, when I'm focused on deciding for life, where I'm just focused on my intake, what I put in my pie hole, and when I put it there, it works really well to weigh myself daily so I can make minor adjustments during the week. With weighing myself daily, one of the things that I have to pay attention to is the salt intake. Now, I'm the type of person, if I don't get enough salt during the day, my legs will cramp up. And I know it's the salt content because when my legs cramp up at night, I'll go drink some chicken broth and the cramps go away. And that's something that I got from a book that my mother-in-law gave me, which was the Atkins diet. And for me, what I've done with my deciding for life is I've looked at some of the other books that I've read and different ideas that I've had and different information that I've gotten off of YouTube and off the internet to try to see different things that might work for me, because that's really what my idea of deciding for life is finding what works for an individual person for me. And if somebody wants to follow some of the things that I'm doing, they really need to focus on deciding for their life to find out what works for them with their health issue. When I lost 80 pounds before, the initial 40 or 50 pounds that I lost just basically by focusing on what I was eating, when I was eating, and how much I was eating. And that worked really good. And lieutenant that I used to work around suggested that I'd go out to the Riverwalk and walk around while I was on duty, in between checking reports and while I'm monitoring the radio to make sure my guys are doing what they're supposed to do. And I started doing that, and I got to where on some shifts I'd walk 12 miles. Actually, it was kind of common that I'd go out there at night and walk 12 miles. And I'd park my car in the middle of the part of the Riverwalk that I used to walk that was in our zone. And I'd walk half of it and come back to my car, check reports, check messages, and I'd go walk the other half, come back. And I'd do that throughout the night. And, I'd walk about 12 miles and 32 pounds of gear. And that helped me get all the way down to 185 pounds. And it's kind of what I had in mind when I started losing weight this time. It's what I was really focused on when I started losing weight this time. I was going to lose, get down to about 200 pounds and then start working out to get down to the 165 I had decided to get down to. And, but, that changed, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a different chapter. But one of the things about, going out and walking the Riverwalk is, you go out there and you walk, and the gear that I'm wearing and the clothes that I'm wearing really ain't designed for that application. It's not like, running gear or something, or, exercise gear. I'm wearing body armor, I've got a gun belt on. And when you get all sweated up and then go sit in the car and cool off for a little bit while you're checking your reports, that causes some chafing that just makes you uncomfortable. On top of that, your socks get wet, start drying out a little bit, and then you go walk some more and you end up with blisters all over your feet. So I beat myself up to lose weight, and it worked. It got me down to 185 pounds. And, once I got down near 185 pounds, I started working out again, started doing the Body for Life program again, the Body for Life workouts again. And then after a while, I kind of quit doing the workouts and quit paying attention to my diet. And really, it's the diet thing. That's what I've really learned since. It's really focusing on the diet that makes the biggest difference. But, I got away from focusing on that. I was still walking. I'd still go out to the river walk. Then towards the end of my career, I was, before I retired, I was working the schools for security on my days off through the Safe School program. I'd work on my days off for overtime. And a typical day that I'd work at a school, I'd walk 12 miles, in 32 pounds of gear. And even though I was walking 12 miles and 32 pounds of gear, 2, 3 times a week, or an off cycle, my weight really didn't change. But really what it was, not controlling what was going in the mouth or in the pie hole quite so well. And that's part of what I've really learned since then. Before I retired from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, one New Year's Eve and into New Year's Day, I worked 2 different off-duty jobs. I used to schedule a Waffle House in Jacksonville, and I worked that either 6 or 6.5 hours that night into the morning. And then I went and worked at a supermarket for another, I think it was 8 hours or 8.5 hours. And between the 2 places, I walked 16 miles in that 24-hour period. And I know that because and I know how much I used to walk to the schools because I used to use an application called Map My Walk. And another application that was on my phone would track my walking during the day. But one of the systems I used to use was Map My Walk. And it would record, how much I walked, and paces and stuff like that. And when I worked that New Year's, I walked 16 miles. And even with all of that, it really doesn't have the effect that controlling what you put in your pie hole or what you eat. It really doesn't, help as much as just really controlling what you eat. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you will know when we upload a new video. If you think that this video can be helpful to a friend, because that's really what my goal is, to inspire people to find a healthier way to live their lifestyle. Because after you've lost 70 or 80 pounds and you really think about how much better you feel, how much more you can do, you really want to share that with people. And that's really my goal. So if you know somebody that this can inspire, please share it with them, because it may be the difference between, them staying overweight and seeing somebody else that's been able to do what they'd like to do and finding their way, not necessarily the deciding for life way, but their way with their health issues to get their weight to a healthy level where they can have a happier and healthier lifestyle. Thank you for watching, and may you have an awesome and much healthier day.